Embiid is a better offensive player than Robinson, and can the Spurs really mess up this season even worse?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs, right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Kings 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you back. Today's episode is brought to you by Ultimate Basketball GM. Ever dreamed of becoming an NBA GM and managing your own basketball franchise? Then this game is definitely for you. Download the game. Just visit ultimatebasketballgm.com or look it up on the app stores. Our listeners get a 100% free boost to their franchise when using promo code LOCKEDON, all caps, in the game. What are we talking about today? Well, we're going to be diving into a bold claim, a hot take, as you could say, that Joel Embiid right now is a better offensive player than Spurs great David Robinson. Scratch the head, shrug your shoulders. Yeah, that was actually said on the Ringers Bill Simmons podcast. Then we're going to look at the remaining set of games for the Spurs, not including the Dallas game. It was recorded before that game, but can the Spurs actually make this season even worse? Yeah, there's a shot that might happen. Who is helping me today? He is back, everybody. My friend at Kings 5 San Antonio on the TV side of things. He is Casey Viera. Casey, welcome back, buddy.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you having me. Wish it was under better circumstances with that lead-in, saying could things get even worse, but, you know.
Well, we were talking about that before hit record, and then and I had asked you, that did Houston win? You're like, yeah, they won. And then I'm like, okay, well, there's that. And then be ahead of the game versus Dallas yesterday. Then Casey tells me, by the way, not only is Luka and Kyrie likely not going to play, Hardaway's not going to play either. So this team can really screw things up. Way to go, Spurs.
Yeah, there's a chance of that.
See, now this is what I was worried about. This is what I worried about. Every time I see a team coming back from a deficit versus San Antonio this season, I've been like, way to go, fill in the blank team. Yes, keep on doing that. Chop away. Don't give them any hope. But we'll dive into that and a lot more. Make sure to follow Casey on Twitter at Casey_Viera. And let's dive into it. So let's get rid of some of this barbershop talk first out of the way quick. So, there's different eras in the NBA. There's different times, different positions, different styles of players that you have on the court. Well, Bill Simmons on his podcast, Bill Simmons Show on the Ringer, was talking about the MVP race, Casey, and it was throwing his pick for Joel Embiid, explaining why, this and that, his game and everything. But when talking about Joel Embiid's offensive side of things, Simmons said that as of right now, Embiid is a better offensive player now than Patrick Ewing, your guy out of New York, Knicks legend. Then he came out of San Antonio Spurs legend and said, by the way, he's even better right now offensively than the Admiral David Robinson. I'm scratching my head, Casey. I don't see it, and I beg to differ with Mr. Simmons. Your thoughts?
Why are you scratching your head?
He's not a better offensive player than Robinson.
I don't think the gap is far. I don't think it's as egregious as you make it sound.
I think it's a borderline egregious, but I'll let you speak. Go ahead.
Come on, you're starting to sound like one of these older dudes. Get off my lawn. I try to downplay the fact that you have a few years. You tend to go back to it. I try to downplay it, but it's all right. It's all right to acknowledge the present. I'll just say that. It's okay to acknowledge the present and acknowledge that Joel Embiid is tremendously talented, which he is.
Denying that.
Without entirely, brushing him off as someone who
not brushing him off either.
Yeah, but see, okay. Spurs fans tend to do this. Is there anyone? The only person I've ever heard them not get offended about in the parallel to one of the guys is Giannis. Honest to God, every single player that from the present day that gets paralleled to someone from the past is just raked over the coals because, oh, God forbid, we're somewhere remotely close to, holier than thou. It doesn't matter who it is. Like, how many times do we go over the Harden-Ginobili thing?
Right, yeah.
Remember? Like, God.
I remember that,
yeah. Someone said Harden is close to Ginobili. Harden a MVP, annual, top 15 All NBA player in the league. We're saying he's close to Ginobili. I mean, come on. And we're talking about Embiid right now, who is very much a front runner to win the MVP award, or close to him 1A with Jokic. But I will say this. I think the argument is very much unfair because while I think a skill set that Embiid has is that he's a little bit more finesse than Robinson was. I don't think Robinson had the shot that he did. I don't think Robinson had the playmaking that he did. Mind you saw more of that prime than I did. But at the same time, Robinson didn't have those opportunities. A different time frame. I mean, you look at the way he plays and the immediate parallel Robinson, in my mind, present day is Giannis. I think it is. I think Embiid is more of a finesse player. Robinson got by very loosely, but I guess got by with his athleticism, being the freak that he is. And honestly, to this degree today, I mean, you see him at the games, he's tremendously in shape.
Yeah, even to this day, yeah. For his age,
to this day, I mean, he's probably pushing 60 years old.
You're right.
But I think to write this off as something as a horror, so to speak, is silly. Because there are things that Embiid can do that Robinson can't or didn't show. And there are things that Robinson had that Embiid had, or that I should say did not have. So to say that it's something horrific, I think is tremendously off base. Very
Talk to me
so.
when Embiid hits 70 or more points in a game, like Robinson did. Talk to me
Didn't
when
Embiid
he drops.
Didn't Embiid have
59?
59.
50,
yeah,
nowhere.
59, 13, and 8 that one game.
Close, but not good enough. Talk to me when he has a quad dub.
And that game that Robinson
put up,
and that hold on, that
quad
game that Robinson
double
put up to win the set,
the rarity in the NBA.
I mean, the game that Robinson had to put up 70 wasn't the last game of the year, and they just kept feeding him the ball anyways to win the scoring title.
Yeah, well, they could do. Hey, his Sixers team can do that for him. They can keep on feeding him the ball anytime he wants. They don't have to wait for a specific game.
So
want to do it tomorrow? You can do it tomorrow. You can do it today. You can do it today. Whenever the next game is on the schedule.
Okay, so we're gonna flex this 70-point number, even though.
But if we're talking about offensive game, then offensively, Robinson did that. It's on the table.
So why? Okay, so now are we using an isolated stat line to prove an argument that it was tremendously volume game?
We're using an example of how offensively Robinson may have an edge over Embiid.
Okay, so you tell me, if we're going to flaunt that 70-point stat, are you telling me Joel Embiid, if he got the shot volume that Robinson did that day, he couldn't score 70 points?
He could, but I don't see it hasn't happened. It hasn't happened. Has it happened?
Thank you.
But it hasn't happened. They tried to do it against when he dropped 59 points. Didn't happen.
No, he didn't. To that degree?
He And in today's era of the NBA, where everybody's dropping 100 points a game, practically, I mean, I'm being stupid here, but people dropping 50 or more points nightly now, and he still has. And Embiid, Mr. Offensive Guy, hasn't even gotten close to what Robinson did in a single game offensively. It's just hard. It's a hard stretch, And you mentioned right now that you didn't see Robinson's prime, as I did.
Yeah,
Robinson's jumper was reliable. Really reliable. He leaned on it a little bit too much, in my opinion, but he had a great mid-range game. Now, the 3 line, I think that's where Robinson suffers. Robinson, I think, shot career 25% from the 3 line. But again, different errors, and that's what makes this difficult, because the era of the big man Robinson was in, bigs weren't expected to be going out to the 3 line. They were screamed at by coaches. Larry Brown, your John Nelsons, Your guy, and get back in the paint. Get back. What are you doing for out there? You're opening up the paint for these guards. Get back in there. So yeah, and I think that's what makes this argument a little bit, kind of hard to do, regardless if you're a Ewing or Robinson or Embiid fan. Just if you're just a generic NBA fan, you're like, different times, just different times. The defenses were way different.
Well, I just don't think. Oh, I'm sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
But do you agree with Simmons saying that he's a better offensive player than your guy Ewing?
I think the parallel, the conversation should be Embiid and Ewing and Robinson and Giannis. I feel like those two guys, or I guess technically four, should be compared in that sense. But to answer your question, probably only because I don't see how you can make the argument for one of those guys with the past playmaking abilities and use that as like a hypothetical. You know what I mean? It's like, well, he didn't have the chance to do it. Well, okay, well, Embiid did, and he's shown that he could do it. So hypothetical that Robinson could do it, that Patrick Ewing could do it, but we don't know that. They might have had that chance, and it just, you know what I mean? So it's, in my mind, it's tough to present that as the hypothetical as an argument, as something like a real concrete sticking point. And it goes back to that same thing with the Harden-Ginobili part, where people always say, oh, if Manu had that volume all the time, he would produce those Harden numbers. Maybe, but do we know that for a fact? No, we don't. But we know for a fact, just like Embiid is a tremendous playmaker for his job, that Harden present was a tremendous playmaker in his prime for the job too. But to answer your question, probably Embiid's probably more not physically gifted, but talented, has presented more than Patrick Ewing did. Yes.
Robinson won a scoring title. He has that in the 94 or 95 season. I believe Robinson averaged a season high of 29-ish, a little over 29 points per game. Embiid hasn't done that yet. And that's the other thing too. We keep on saying yet because Robinson had 10 plus years in the league. Embiid we're with Embiid because how many years did he miss? 3 years? Missed 2?
He missed 2 years.
So this is would you say he's just entering his prime or he's in his prime?
I'd say he's probably in his prime, right?
He's in his prime, yeah. Yeah.
Right. I'd probably say more so in his prime.
So and then that's my point. We have to wait it out. I think this is one of the things you wait it out because we have a full body of work for Robinson. We have a good chunk of a body of work of Embiid, but we don't know yet. Maybe 2-3 years from now, he hits the 75. Okay, now he did 75 points a game, beat Robinson, or he has a scoring title like Robinson. But yeah, it's just really difficult to do this right now. And then the eras and then the age. Right now, it's the age of switchable players. Back then, it was still very traditional. It was Robinson, you are a 5. Avery Johnson, you are a 1. Sean Elliott, you are a 3. It's very like that. Now it's, hey, Sohan, you want to play a 4, the 1, the 2, the 3? I mean, pick your way, and then that's just the way it is. But yeah.
Right.
We'll wrap up this conversation when we get back. We're joined by Casey Viera, my colleague at Ken's 5 San Antonio. He's on the TV side of things. Follow him on Twitter at Casey_Viera. But before we continue our chat, I want to talk to you about Ultimate Pro Basketball GM. Really get you out about our new partner for today's episode, the mobile game Ultimate Pro Basketball GM. Ever dreamed of becoming an NBA GM, managing your own basketball franchise? Well, your dream can come true. This game is definitely for you. Manage every strategic aspect of your team, play through the season, and lead your team to glory. You are responsible for hiring the right coaches, assistants, trading and training players, making draft picks, and navigating your franchise through free agency and the draft and the ups and downs of the season. It's a challenging and realistic game. Ultimate Pro Basketball GM is completely free, playable offline, play on the go, play as many as you want, when you want, whenever you want. Hey, look, I like it. The guys at the Locked On NBA Network are already talking some smack about their teams. Really fun and enjoyable. Locked On Spurs listeners get themselves a 100% free boost to their franchise when using promo code Locked On in the game store. Just make sure you go and check it out right now. Download the game, visit probasketballgm.com, scan the code, or look it up on the app stores. That's probasketballgm.com. Ultimate Basketball GM. Start your dynasty today. We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Casey Viera. Follow him on Twitter at Casey_Viera. Let him know that he's completely wrong. Embiid is nowhere close to Robinson offensively. But Casey, kidding aside, defensively, I don't think Embiid can hold a candle to Robinson, though.
All right, yeah, I'm not gonna get into that argument. Yeah, I agree.
yeah. Well, yeah, exactly.
I don't have a leg to stand on with that one.
You know, as you grew up a Knicks fan, I obviously grew up a Spurs fan. You know, interesting. Simmons on his podcast said that he ain't even close to putting Embiid near Dream's level offensively yet. You remember Dream? My goodness.
Oh well, I
Jesus.
mean, who? I don't think. Yeah, like I don't think that's a criticism of Embiid. I mean,
oh no, not at all. I mean, that's freaking Hakeem Olajuwon.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, well, project this out. So we have Robinson's full body of work, and keep in mind the era and the time that he was played in. I mean, then like you mentioned, that was the era of traditional basketball, 4 or 5s, 1s, and all that good stuff. You know, and Embiid. Do you think Embiid has a chance to perhaps where people can like truly say, and there is no debate, yeah, Embiid has surpassed Robinson offensively?
Well, I mean, I think it's a debate. My argument. Like what you're asking? What are you asking?
Like, can you project it out? Can you see Embiid involving offensively to be like, you know what? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Robinson. You know, it was good. It was fun while it lasted, but Embiid has you now. Like, in other words, the debate is removed.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because I don't think the gap is as far away as you do. Yeah, I don't think the gap is as far away as you do. So absolutely, if I think it's close now. I definitely, and I think Embiid is still very much in his prime / only getting bet. Like I think, you know, relatively speaking, because Embiid's going to have a day where he's past his prime. But I think at the immediacy, I think his game is only going to get better, if not stay the same. And even if it does that, I mean, I don't see how a sustained period of time one could kind of write off that he would surpass Robinson, where it's like non-debatable.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's a fun debate. Yeah, it's a fun debate. Spurs fans are just vehemently saying, hell no, you're out of your mind if you think Embiid is better offensively than the Admiral. But it's definitely something to watch. Something to watch.
They got to stop being so sensitive. It's okay for players of the present to be better. Like, it's all right. If a guy from the present is surpassing a guy of the past on the Spurs, it's not really an indictment on the Spurs guy. Like, that's more so, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like you can do both. You're not by saying Joel Embiid is a better offensive player than David Robinson. It's not saying, oh, Manu was trash. That's not what it's saying at all. Yeah, and on the other side of the spectrum, I don't see how one could play the stand so hard on that ground when you have guys who are generational talents in their own rights in Harden and Embiid. You know, it's like, okay, so which generational talent surpasses the other? No, they're all generational. Unless it's like Michael Jordan and LeBron, no generational talent is going to surpass the other.
Let me ask you, flip it. I think we know definitely Robinson at his peak and his athleticism would truly thrive in today's NBA. I mean, my goodness, he is built for today's NBA.
Yeah,
You think Embiid could survive in Robinson's era of the bigs, the Dreams, the Robinsons, the Ewings, the
I think
Morning?
so.
Oh, you think he could?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think there's
so,
a select few. I think there's a
yeah.
select few that can get by
Mm-hmm.
at that size. You need both power. You need both finesse. I mean, power was a requisite part of it, but to really stand out, to take yourself to the next level, you had to have that finesse, like Robinson, relatively speaking, like Olajuwon, and I think Embiid could. I think he's part of a select few. LeBron.
Yeah.
Mainly because they're just sheer, a guy. I would say Durant, mainly because there's nothing like Durant back then that would even come close to, stopping Durant.
If he was able to be on the court and have a injury-free season, what do you think about a guy like Zion? Could he have survived in Robinson's day?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Barkley, Barkley's the example right there.
Right. And he's probably, you got a better look at it than I did, but he's probably more physically gifted than Barkley was.
Mm-hmm. For sure. We're talking with, I hear you. Yeah, but it's definitely a great debate. Again, and it came at a good time too. The season winding down already. Spurs fans, I think collectively, Casey, are already checked out of the season. I think everybody's checked out.
We don't have Bryn Forbes. Yeah, we don't have Bryn Forbes lunchbox to talk about.
Exactly. So we had a nice, fun debate recently right here with the Spurs fans, and of course, Locked On Spurs. When we get back, we're going to dive into the worst case scenario. What is the one thing that Spurs fans were saying should not happen? Well, it could possibly happen. That is the Spurs winning to close out the season right here on Locked On Spurs. But first, I definitely want to talk to you about Built Bar. Hey, it's the Built March Madness bracket. It is here. If you have your favorite bar or puff and now's your time to make it count, well, you want to go to builtmarchmadness.com to vote for your favorites. Look, I'll be definitely voting for the churro puff. I mean, there's very, very good. I like it. I still have a box of it waiting for me in my kitchen. So if you want your team to win, then you'll be voting for that bar too. Support your team, support bar or puff. And when you vote for your favorite bar or puff, you'll be entering into a drawing where 50 lucky Locked On listeners will get a free box of Built. Not only that, but one Locked On fan will win a 12-month subscription to Built to have Built's best bars or puffs delivered monthly straight to their door. You got to try Built. Built, the best protein bar ever. Seriously, they're so amazing. You don't even think they're good for you. What makes Built bars and puffs so good? Well, high in protein, low in sugar, covered in 100% real chocolate. Yes, real chocolate. So you want to go to builtmarchmadness.com right now to vote for your favorite bar or puff and pick up a box while you're there. You can even vote every day in March. So hop on in and support your pick. And I also want to talk to you about FanDuel. Look, it's way past the NBA midpoint season, but hey, it's here, but it's still the good time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. New customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Download FanDuel Sportsbook app right now. It's safe, secure, super easy to use. You can bet on everything from the money line to point scores to threes drains. You can even make up your favorite bets. So, for example, in the NBA, you can do one called the 2x3, 2 3-pointers scored in the first 3 minutes. FanDuel even lets you combo your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with same game parlay. So don't miss out your chance to get yourself a no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon, FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. And let's go ahead and bring on back Casey Viera. Casey, the worst could happen, and it's shaping up for that to happen. Now, we don't know what the outcome is versus the Mavericks last night. But as mentioned, Luka didn't play. I think Casey told me Hardaway Jr. wasn't going to play either, and Kyrie was iffy. So we'll lean to them not playing Kyrie. But if the Spurs did win last night, that's 19 wins, Casey. Yikes. They cannot fall out of the top 3 worst teams, and that scenario could possibly happen, Casey. Your thoughts?
I mean, I don't really know what more to add. Like,
but you can add this. This is like the worst. This is the worst scenario for a bad season. This is it right here.
Listen, we're 2 weeks away, 2 weeks removed from them losing like a month's worth straight. You know, like I don't anticipate this turning into a 10-5 stretch in the last 15 games. I think the law of average is going to even out. But yeah, are you a little bit more concerned now from the standpoint that, okay, well, the LaMelo Ball thing really screwed up the first chance.
It did.
That I think is what raises the red flag a little bit more, or is a little bit more cautionary for you. I think it's not as much the Spurs being bad, because I don't think they're certainly not good, but I think it's more so the thing you worry about is the fact that, well, is Charlotte worse than you right now that LaMelo's out? And the answer is, yeah, probably they are.
And you don't want that to happen.
And you don't want want that to happen. So it's not, and again, I say this the term very loosely. It's not to the fault of their own not being able to, lose games and do this the wrong way. It's just the extenuating circumstances outside of it. Like, all right, well, like this all-star is out for the season for a team that's worse than ours now. What do we do? Well,
exactly.
It's just kind of, all right, we just got to ride it out, guys. We're doing it for the long haul.
Again, keep in mind, everybody, we're recording this before the Dallas game, but as of this recording, Charlotte has lost 3 in a row. They're coming for that top 3 spot. They want that 14%. And according to Tankathon, if you fall out of the top 3 percentage, obviously everybody knows about the 14% by now for the top 3 worst teams in the draft. It drops down to 12.5. Okay, fine. Not a significant drop, but a drop nonetheless. And I would definitely want to take those extra percentage points, if you will, for a chance to scoop up a Scoot or a Wemby or a Miller or whoever is going to be a projected top 3. Definitely for Wemby. Spurs have the beat or the Magic. So there's that. So as of right now, the draft simulator on Tankathon has Detroit landing with the number 1 pick, followed by Houston and then San Antonio, but Charlotte's right behind them. So there it is. And let's look ahead of the schedule, Casey. So again, we're not going to include the Dallas game last night. So we'll just ignore that. So tomorrow they got the Grizz without Ja Morant. We'll just go over the next 4 over here, or 4 or 5. So we got Grizzlies next. No Ja Morant as of now. And then you got the DeJounte Murray game in San Antonio. Atlanta comes into San Antonio. Then the Pelicans. And then the Bucks. And then the Wizards. Those are your next 5. How do you see those going down? Repeat. So you got just go one by one. Grizzlies are next in San Antonio, part of that 6-game homestand.
Grizzlies are vulnerable right now.
Yeah, they are.
They are. They're vulnerable, but Grizzlies.
Okay, fine. Yay. That's what I want to hear. Then you got the DeJounte Murray revenge game. Spurs host the Hawks after the Grizzlies. How do you see that going down?
Game worries.
I can see the Spurs getting a W there.
I know. I think it's going to be a little bit of it. I think it's going to be a little bit of a juicy atmosphere too.
Yep. Yeah. That young team's going to want to show up. DeJounte after what he's been doing.
Man, I mean, this is not the platform to talk about the Hawks, but like, gosh, they butchered this DeJounte thing, man. They butchered because they are just caught in first round purgatory now.
Exactly what the Spurs don't want to do, be that team. Yeah.
I know, right. Well, that's what the Spurs were for the longest time, ironically enough, with DeJounte.
Yeah.
What do you do? Hawks.
I'm going to go with the Hawks getting that one, though. Yeah.
Hawks. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Up next after the Hawks is Spurs Pelicans in New Orleans.
I can see the Spurs winning this.
Me too. Yeah, I guess the Spurs winning that one.
Yeah, I could see the Spurs. You know what? Give me the Spurs.
Okay. And then they go to Milwaukee. Spurs. Oh, yeah, that's easy. That should be an L. Yeah, that should be an L.
Yeah.
Now comes an interesting one if we're just taking a look
They
at the
did
next
beat them
five.
this year, though. I know only like 7 guys for the Bucks played. But
oh, yeah. Remember that moment in time, Casey? Championship parade was coming, according to Spurs fans.
Right.
They were 5-2, and they went to Milwaukee and beat them.
I know.
And then we'll wrap up this little segment of games with Spurs at Wizards. So I can see the Spurs winning that one.
Yes. But the Wizards they do have something to play for. They are trying to, be competitive in that race for the play-in. I think they came into, as of this recording, I believe they came in as the 10 seed in the play-in. Give me Washington.
Okay. I'll take San Antonio on that one. Here's the thing, too. The wrench in all this is going to be if those mysterious injury reports pop up. Remember how everybody was 100% healthy? Everybody was cheering for that. Yay, we finally get to see a Spurs peak power versus Denver. And lo and behold, they beat the mighty Nuggets. So now my thoughts like, oh, no. Not now, San Antonio. And then ahead of that game versus Oklahoma City, all of a sudden, Sohan's out. Oh, Keldon's out. Oh, Trey Jones can't play anymore. It's like, yes, I like that. And then
you know what the problem here is, man? It's like all these guys, I say this relatively speaking, are like kind of starting to figure this out a little bit.
They are.
That's the issue. It's all these guys who you're anticipating them as rookies being wet behind the ears, which they are to a pretty big degree, but they also look really a lot more confident in what they're doing. That's
Sohan, especially him.
Oh, Sohan, yeah. I mean, Sohan's looking like a 3-year veteran already.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
and then, By the way, I'm still tabling a separate Locked On Spurs to discuss Keldon Johnson. I think he needs a deep dive for him.
Oh yeah.
He needs him. Yeah. I mean, I've been a little disappointed in him this year, but
it's a conversation that we're having.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely say that.
Yeah,
we'll say that for a later time. But yeah, you put it this way, the Spurs could reach that 2021 win mark soon. They could. I don't see them.
Honest, man. I'm not worried about them falling out the top 4. If I'm being honest.
So you got them in top 4 now.
Top 3.
Okay.
I'm not.
I'm a little worried just because of Charlotte. Charlotte threw everything off.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like it's like they're not good. So I feel like Charlotte has to be, which they could be like egregiously bad, like 3-15 the rest of the way. But even if they go 3-15, I don't feel overly confident that the Spurs would go whatever it is, 6-10 to make up the difference. I mean, might get a little bit close for comfort. Yeah, probably. There's going to be a time here in the coming weeks where we're like, okay, this is it. I don't think this is the nuclear winner though. Like, I don't think this is. I still have the belief that the Spurs are in a good spot to lose these games. And hey, you don't know what happens. I mean, we saw the Rockets the other day beat Boston, so maybe the Rockets start to figure out something in their own right. I know Jabari Smith the other day played the best game of his career so far, and depending on what side of the bed Jalen Green wakes up, I mean, he's legit. Good thing Spurs also have going for him too is that they do not. They lose the tiebreaker with both Charlotte and Houston.
Oh, well, there you go.
Right?
All right. I like that.
So that's
Got some good
essentially,
news.
if they tie, if they tie with Charlotte, that's essentially another game that the Spurs have on
big
them.
game. Yeah, right. That's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Forgot about those
so
tiebreakers too.
Yeah. So they do. They do actually essentially have an extra game for that front if you need a mild exhale.
Right.
But,
yeah. Whew. But yeah, I agree. I think it's going to get too close for comfort. I think it's going to come down to maybe, hopefully it doesn't, but maybe the last week and a half. Then we'll really see Tankathon really kick in. Really, the Tank Bowl games coming out. No, Casey, you might get a call up from the Spurs to play the last few games.
I know, right?
You might. Hey, we need a backup. We need a backup big five to take on Giannis. Call this guy Casey Viera out in San Antonio. He can help.
Right.
It's
Seriously, man, you ain't kidding. By the way, got to shout out Charles Bassey, man. I know last night after this recording, they said he might have cracked his patella.
Dang.
Hopefully, by the time this is, hopefully by the time they release they will have released the injury report for the better.
Yeah.
But man, that sucks, doesn't it?
That does. It does. And he was that bouncy big the Spurs had been looking for a while. It looks like he was shaping up to be that guy, that athletic big that just leaps out of the gym. But man,
and I'm just glad, honestly, he signed his extension, so he's at least got some money.
Yeah, he got that. Yeah, and let's make it clear. As of this recording, we don't know the IR, but post game versus the Magic, Popovich said that he thinks that Bassey cracked his patella. So, but hey, you know what? Stay tuned to next week to Locked On Spurs because we're gonna have Dr. Ryan McCorkle. I'm gonna ask him about that. By then we should have the IR and know what's going on with Bassey. But yeah, bad break for Bassey. But hey, we're done talking. We want to hear from you. How much do you want to go at Casey Viera? Let him know that he's completely wrong about Embiid versus Robinson offensively. You can let him know on Twitter at Casey_Viera. Casey, what's going on the Ken's 5 TV side of things on the sports desk?
Oh, what is going on? Let me think. What is going
Brahma's losing.
What was that?
The Brahma's losing.
And that's another thing. Dude, Brahma's got screwed. The Brahmas got screwed here because they had that first week where they sold out.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing very, very well.
Right.
And they go on the road for 3 games. And they lose they get put right on the back burner, and they lose all that juice that they had that first week, presumably.
Right.
And so they get put back. They're back in town, and now they play a Saturday night game. Thankfully, it was moved to Saturday night. Thankfully, it was moved to Saturday night. It was
that doesn't
Sunday
make sense
night.
though.
I know. Well, it was Sunday night, but they moved it to Saturday because if it was Sunday night, it's like no one's going to go to that game.
Yeah, no one's going to go.
At least Saturday you have these people, the season ticket holders who got in. They're like, all right, they're back. But next week they're right back on the road in Arlington.
Do they even play in San Antonio? I mean, do they?
They play in right? Yeah. I mean, they got the short end of the deal with the scheduling thing, but to many respects, I mean, this is a good bar that is set, or relative. I guess the bar is a good term to use. The bar has been set as to how much the fans really care, and if the fans really care, they're going to show up. And if they don't, well, then. They don't.
Then bye-bye again. Losing another team.
Yeah.
And The Rock announced The Rock announced that the title game is going to be in San Antonio. I remember that correctly. So that's good. Yeah. That's good. But you got Brahmas. I know you got the NFL offseason just heating up. Let me guess, Cowboys didn't do anything, right? No free agency signings.
Well, as of this recording, they just got Stephon Gilmore from the Colts.
What?
Yeah.
They made a move? Jerry made a move?
They did something. Yeah.
Craziness.
How about it?
There we go. Well, more reason why everybody should tune into Ken's 5 TV. Casey Viera is there on the weekends talking all things sports from your Spurs, NBA, Brahmas, and much, much more. And we thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Second listen, check out Locked On Game to Game NBA, all results, all stats, all box scores, everything you need to know about the NBA. Subscribe to Locked On NBA Game to Game, Odyssey app, YouTube, wherever you get podcasts, just like Locked On Spurs. Even on the Ken's 5 Plus app. How about that? You Locked On Spurs there. So for Casey Viera, I am Jeff Garcia. We're putting a lock on this.